Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to today's panel discussion brought to you by HR Association of India. At HRAI, our mission is to create platforms that connect, inspire, and empower professionals through meaningful conversations and shared learning. I'm Neha Jagnani, and it's my privilege to be your host for this discussion. Our theme today is CFOs in the age of AI, enhancing decision making with artificial intelligence. Today, we'll learn fresh perspectives, real challenges, and bold solutions. Through these conversations, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat window and we'll make sure they reach the panel. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the session, Mr. Mayank Holani. Mayank is a CA with over 23 years of diverse experience across Indian and multinational companies. Currently, he is working with Indian Synthetic Rubber as CFO, prior to which he has had a 12-year stint at Schneider, including CFO of the listed entity. Earlier, he also worked with companies like Chambal Fertilizers, JK Tires, and Kane India. Without further ado, I now invite Mr. Mayank to take over and lead us through this exciting conversation. Over to you, Mayank.
Uh, thank you, Neha, for in the introduction and starting the discussion. Good afternoon, everyone, all the participants. Hope I'm audible and clear. So, topic of our panel discussion today is CFOs in the age of AI, enhancing decision making with artificial intelligence. This is not just a hot topic these days, but is something which is leading to rapid transformation in not just the role of CFOs, but the entire finance function. And if you see different organizations may be at different levels of maturity in terms of AI adoption, but there is one thing for sure which all of us agree that the role of CFO is undergoing a significant transformation in the age of AI. And it's impacting us in more than one way, wherein on one side it's helping automate a lot of routine activities leading to simplification, productivity, and efficiency, while on the other side, it's also posing some serious challenges and concerns like those around trust, transparency, data quality, governance, and even talent related issues. So, we'll get into more details around this topic with our panel members, where we have a set of four very learned CFOs who have all have experience of more than 2 decades each to throw some light on this subject and share their views with all of us. I would now introduce our panelists for all of you, and then we'll go one by one. So first, I would like to introduce Ankit, who is a CFO of Quick Heal Technologies Limited, which is one of the leading IT security solutions all of us know. He brings over 20 plus years experience in finance and accounting, business partnering and planning, stakeholder management, leading board and audit committee processes, risk management, investor relations, and SEBI compliances. Earlier, he had worked with companies like Suzlon, Vodafone, SG Analytics, and Datametrics. Welcome, Ankit.
Hi everyone.
Next I would introduce Meenakshi Daga, who is a seasoned professional with over 20 years experience across multiple finance domains, including past 10 years at Lenovo. She is responsible for India P&L management and have received multiple industry and internal awards. She also is a strong believer of technology and digital adoption for better financial outcome. She is a fitness freak, plays badminton, loves to travel and interact with experts to learn, as she believes we learn a lot from people experiences. Welcome, Meenakshi. Very happy to be you on the panel. Next, I would like to introduce Naveen Bhadada, who is CFO of Velvet Lifestyle Private Limited, which is popularly known as the Sugar Cosmetics, the brand we all are aware of. He is a qualified CA and an MBA with 20 years experience and has worked in multiple domains in finance like strategic finance, budgeting, accounting, internal controls, supply chain finance, and treasury. Welcome, Naveen. Next, I would move on to our panelist Amit Agrawal, who is a seasoned industry leader with over 2 decades experience and have played key roles of CFO and CEO in MNCs, and is now serving as board of directors and advisory on board of directors and advisory board, along with being an investor and mentor. He is known as BFSI expert and is recognized for governance, strategy, and M&As. He possesses a unique blend of academics, being a CA MBA from IIM Bangalore and a CFA charter holder. Welcome, Amit. So, without further ado, I would quickly move on to our questions, our panel members for to hear their views and learn for all along with all of you. So, I think first I'll come to you, Naveen, uh, and request you to tell us more. How can CFOs leverage AI to move from reactive financial reporting to predictive and prescriptive insights?
Thank you so much,
Naveen, yeah.
Mang. Yes, thank you so much, Mang. Thanks for the intro and happy to be a part of this panel. So the question which you have asked is very relevant that how do CFOs leverage AI to move from a reactive financial reporting to a more productive and a prescriptive insights, right? So to me, any financial reporting is similar to reporting what has happened versus any predictive insights of what should happen next, and that's the journey which the CFOs have to make using the leverage of AI. And there are certain things which CFOs need to ensure to make sure that the AI and the tools around AI are leveraged to move from a predictive from a reactive reporting to a predictive insight, right? So certain things like couple of things which comes to my mind. First and foremost is the entire piece on automation and streamlining the rear view mirror. I call it as a rear view mirror, which means that there are AI tools which can be used for automated data integration, reconciliation, and closing processes. Now, you would understand as a finance professional, one of the most difficult challenges we all face is during closing. At times the data is not correct, at times the integrations are not happening, and it takes a lot of time, because of which we are not able to do any analysis in terms of what should happen next, as I mentioned in the beginning, but we are trying to catch up with what has happened in the past. And that's where I think with the use of AI enabled tools, these rear mirror processes can be automated, which would actually help release bandwidth of the finance organization, and they can do move from a reactive financial reporting to a predictive insights. The second, which again we as finance professional face a lot of issues, is on the entire uniform database, building upon a unified data layer. So we have to consolidate everything in terms of ERP, in terms of ERMs, in terms of supply chain, and to some extent also the external data, because we deal with a lot of data. We as finance professionals deal with a lot of data. So the moment all of these multiple sources of data are integrated to a single source of truth, the integration of data points becomes easy, the adoption of data points becomes easy, and hence the finance teams gets more time to do a predictive analysis, and they don't spend too much of time on doing the post-mortem of what has happened. uh, Third, there are a lot of tools who help us to do a lot of predictive forecasting instead of static budgets, right? So budgets and forecasting becomes an inherent part of any finance professional. So nowadays, there are tools which can help us build predictive forecasting rather than a static budget. Static budget means that you create a budget and then you stick for the budget for the year, which doesn't help because a lot of market dynamics keeps changing as you move through the year. So these tools help us to forecast revenue, cash flow, costs under multiple scenarios. So they also help us create scenario planning, and hence, again, we as finance professionals can move from a reactive reporting to a predictive reporting. So in a nutshell, CFOs who combines automation, high quality integrated data, and AI driven scenario planning can actually pivot from a reporting what has happened to advising on what should happen next. The moment this happens, this becomes, then it elevates the entire finance function from a compliance driven organization to a true strategic business partner. So that's my thought in terms of how CFOs can leverage AI around the data reporting.
Thanks, Naveen, for your really good insights. Next, I'll move to Meenakshi. Meenakshi, so with these AI systems increasingly influencing financial decisions, How should we as CFOs balance innovation with compliance, ethics, and other regulatory requirements, which is very critical and important for all of us?
Sure. Thanks, Mayank, and a great question. And I think as I was listening, Naveen, I realized that many of us are thinking in the same direction. I think we are thinking in very, very similar direction what Naveen spoke. And yeah, I think I'm personally have been extremely passionate about a lot of transformation, digitalization, and adoption of the AI. This is something which will be needed in our job. I think first, let me say that I don't think any of us as finance can avoid not to have AI in our life. This is inevitable. It will come our way. We'll have to accept and adopt it. This is something which will come in our jobs to complement human efforts, not to compete with human efforts. I think that is something which we'll have to see how do we adopt and how do we really make it part of our life. But as we do that, and if we don't do it in a responsible way, I'm sure I think this can be challenging on some of these regulatory requirements which are there and a lot of compliance requirements, which I think all the finance professionals and so is I think the organizations are responsible to follow. So I think my quick suggestion there could be that as we adopt more and more AI into the finance life, into our day-to-day life, we will have to take care of some of these requirements when we are developing and deploying the AI solution. So example, if you are using any of the AI modules or any of the solutions into your financial management, first please ensure that there is a techno-functional guy who is involved into that. Someone who understands the compliance requirements, someone who understands that eventually what are the implications of financials outcome and the decision of that. And maybe I'll give a very small quick example. I think I had one of my colleague who was, I think, not so techno-functional to experiment and come up with a presentation in one of the areas, which was around our warranty support services. And I think I saw the outcome. The PPT came, and I think the insights were amazing when I saw the outcome. And I was like, the person has really done a damn good job because there is so much, differentiated insights, and it's a great outcome. And this is something which we might be able to use. But yeah, I myself was not sure on few of the things, and I call up the person. And I asked the person to explain me that presentation. And then I realized eventually in the conversation, it came up that that was actually a AI driven output. And I think the person self was not fully aware that, how many of those insights and how he can connect that to the real life scenario and use it. So that's what makes it that, CFOs eventually should be able to explain the output on the output and make it and design it in a way that they are able to explain to the stakeholders. Finally, they will be at the center answering all these solutions, insights, and the outcome to the stakeholder. So to ensure that the compliance requirement and the regulatory requirement which are there, which are built into these AI solutions, it's also very important to have some AI governance within the organization. I think Naveen touched upon that. Yes, I think many of us are thinking to use AI in right now less complex areas. I will say I still cannot answer you that where you need to invest, but it can certainly answer you that can you improve your forecast process? Can you improve your reconciliation? Can you adopt it a lot more in probably business controls or in fraud detection, in big data analytics, some of those areas, which will be relatively low risk on the compliance and a lot of ethical and external regulatory requirements, but have that AI, governance in place, which will be needed for you to be, making the entire uses of AI auditable and having audit trail of some of those. And lastly, yeah, I think this is to support. It's like a decision support system. It cannot be a decision making. I think whatever the outcome comes, until unless I think the experts of this industry are really sure that you can blindly rely on some of those. I think this is something which will still have to be watchful, cautious in what areas we use, but do ensure that whatever we built in, we own the output and we incorporate all the regulatory requirements and whatever AI solution we are adopting in our day-to-day finance life. Hope that
Thanks,
answers.
Meenakshi. Actually, very, very relevant and interesting insights. And you rightly said, it's ultimately human mind which has to be on top of the AI. You can't let it rule us, right? We can use it to make our lives better, but yeah, we can't drive everything. Okay, now I'll move to Ankit. So Ankit, tell us, how do you see AI transforming the role of CFOs from traditional financial stewardship to becoming a strategic driver of business growth? Ankit.
Thanks, Mang. Thanks, Meenakshi and Naveen, for your inputs and insights. Very insightful. So, Mang, I call it generally backward looking to forward thinking. That's how I rephrase this. But let me give you an example. I'm a part of a cybersecurity company wherein back in 1990s, we used to get 4 or 5 samples in a week where we used to identify whether those samples are malicious in nature. So this is back in 1990 when the company was formed about 30 years back. And in those days, these things were done manually by the researchers, and they used to do everything manually, and we used to find few malicious files. Then those days came in 2000 when we used to get this number rose to around thousands. Uh, we still doing it manually, but with the help of automation. Back there, the things were so companies used to hire more and more researchers to address address the volume which we were getting. As on date, we are getting millions of files on daily basis, wherein we have to identify whether these files are malicious in nature. So humanly, now it is not possible. Since we adopted AI in our early days, we are not facing the challenge. But imagine you have to do manually identifying the files, millions of files. It is just not possible. So this is where I want to say that AI has bring an important role in our life. And and these malicious files are unique in nature. When we as a company can apply this for a uniqueness problem, why can't all companies adopt it? And of late, we have seen the industries are adopting this. All the companies, so I have shared my example, but all the companies are now sharing the AI moving towards this. Now, before actually I start, uh, about finance also, if we see, there were days of ERP when in 2000 we introduced the ERP. Companies were moving from uh, no software to maybe SAP or to Oracle back in 2000. And then there were days come where we started using BI. It was more of a dashboarding and reporting tool. Then in 2015, I remember when I was in Vodafone, we were doing bots. We were trying to automate doing the mundane task in which is repetitive in nature. We were trying to adopt bots so that especially in AP and AR where we can get the things faster and easier. Now the days have come where we have to go with AI because AI, I call it that it is more, it has its own intelligence and it makes you context aware. So it has the context awareness and it is intelligent by itself. So these are things which I think has transformed. Um, I'll give you an example where uh, we do mass advertisement. So we approach to our customers and do mass emailers. We were so my sales and marketing had came to me and then they said that we are looking for more guys because nowadays we are getting higher response to our mass mails and we were discussing that this is a good problem to have because we are getting more and more responses, but getting more headcount to do that is just not doable. So we are in the process of adopting a AI tool which will help us in auto responding to the responses which we are getting, and it will also include the quotes, all those stuff which are relevant from from the uh, from the target perspective that they should get in one go so that they can respond. So this is my view, and you rightly said that we have moved from backward backward looking to forward thinking, and that's the way forward.
Ankit, your view is actually very relevant, and this is how rather when you said backward looking and forward going.
Thinking.
So when I was doing my article shape around 2000, so I recall one of my clients, head finance, is saying पीछे देख आगे बढ़. Finance में ऐसा ही करते हैं. So this is not a new thing. So it's the age-old finance phenomenon, and just the mechanisms have changed. Okay, thanks for your insights. So now I'll move to Amit. Amit, what safeguards or governance models do you believe are critical to mitigate risks of bias or inaccuracies in AI-driven forecasting? Amit.
Thanks, Neha and Mayank. Uh, so, all of us have covered a lot of things like we need new muscles in today's times of Barney world. And the world has shifted from VUCA world to Barney world. Barney is like bias prone, algorithm driven, non-linear, interpretable. So not coding, but ability to ask the right question is something that, all of us need to develop. And AI is brilliant at connecting the dots until it confidently connects the wrong ones. Think of Zillow's infamous AI home buying model. It started overpaying for houses because it believed past price hikes would continue to, will never end. So the result was Zillow wrote off $500 million and exited the business. That's a classic example of AI overconfidence. Forecasts may tell you more about the forecaster in today's world, more than the future, actually. So if a forecaster thinks something, he will definitely bring that insight into whatever AI model, large language model it is. If it can be, chat GPT, it can be AI-driven tools. So with AI-driven forecasting, the risk shifts from human blind spots to algorithm biases. And that's where governance models become critical. So safeguard in AI forecasting is not about distrusting the technology. They're about ensuring that we don't fall asleep at the wheel. If it's even if it is an automatic car. So though a lot of it is covered, I will try to put it in few bullets. The critical governance models that I see are around fourfold. First, the human oversight is non-negotiable. So I was talking about Zillow and Amazon also learned this painfully when their AI-based hiring tool turned out biased against women. So it was not the machine's fault, but the data it inherited. It was the data's fault. So similarly, if you demand forecasting model is strained on pre-pandemic data, it may still believe we are living in 2019 before pandemic era. So that is first I said human oversight. That is non-negotiable. Second is scenario-based governance. I think Naveen talked about. It aids resilience. What if it gets messier? Because it really does. Every time you think, you have to have the worst case scenario in your kitty. Third, transparency and explainability. As CFOs, we had hard time explaining why a quarter was off, why a year was off. So now imagine telling your board, even Meenakshi was telling one example. So now imagine telling your board, the machine told us so. You don't know the answer. So and like Meenakshi was talking about one person who made a brilliant PPT. So not enough, right? There are a lot of examples where AI started hallucinating and telling, something which is wrong with complete confidence, with maybe overconfidence. So these are the three things. And the last but not the least, curiosity. You keep on learning, you keep on, and this even AI, even the technology is going to kind of develop on its own and going to get better and better, but the human oversight is definitely has to be there. And curiosity means you keep on learning new things, you keep on adopting it, at the same time keep that control so that it doesn't go awry. Yeah.
Thanks, Amit. What you said is very, very relevant, and critical for all of us to understand, because AI can help us, which we have to rely on it. We can rely on its inputs, but we have to apply our mind also. We can't just completely outsource our minds to AI. Okay, Naveen, so I'll come back to you again. What are the biggest challenges in integrating AI tools with existing financial systems, like whatever we are using? And how can we as CFOs overcome resistance to this adoption? Because that's something which happens when we do anything new. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mang. Very, very relevant. And I think that's one of the toughest part in the entire journey when you move from a non-AI based organization to an AI adopted organization. So resistance do happen because no change is easy, and hence it becomes extremely difficult. So as you asked, there are two parts to this question, and I'll try to address both the questions one by one. So I'll take the first in terms of the biggest challenge
Sure.
and integrating AI into the finance system. Now, the first and foremost is your fragmented legacy infrastructure, right? AI would not give you anything better if you don't input anything better, right? So if you do garbage in, you'll get, of course, the garbage out, right? So for us to have the AI integrated into the finance system, the biggest challenge, in my view, comes when it comes to the legacy database, legacy infrastructure, which is fragmented. You don't have uniform database, and then every function in the organization would have their own set of data, and hence it becomes a key roadblock when it comes to moving the journey from to the AI modules or the AI tools. The second biggest challenge, in my view, and in my experience, comes in terms of the quality of the data and the governance issue, right? Take an example now. All of us are finance professionals. Now, uh, probably every other tool would have a different definition of revenue. Somebody would call it as gross revenue, somebody would call it as revenue minus tax, somebody would call you as revenue minus tax minus discount. So there's enough and more examples to say that there are different set of definitions when we deal with data. Now, if we don't have the quality of the data, then again, and we don't understand that, there are different definitions or inconsistent definitions, as I call it, then the output would also be on the same lines, because you would imagine NR, or let's say a revenue, to be a net revenue, and probably the tool would give you a gross revenue. So that's where the quality of data and the governance related issues play a major role, and at times they becomes the roadblocker. The third, which is again very, very relevant, and I think one of the biggest roadblocks, is the in-house expertise, right? No matter how much you have the intent to, use AI, no matter how much you have the money to create those infrastructure, but if you don't have the in-house expertise or the in-house talent to use those AIs, those can't be used. I mean, somebody still have to execute the command to get the desired output in AI. AI would not give you anything just by saying, you know what, I need this, right? So you have to have an in-house expertise who can use the infrastructure, who can use the tool to get the desired output, and that at times becomes a key challenge, especially when the organization is young, growing, especially in the kind of organizations wherein I work in, when the capital is an issue, and then if we invest in those projects, and if we don't have the expertise, then the project itself is dead on day one, right? So that's the another part. Last but not the least part, there's a lot of cultural and behavioral resistance which happens, right? People do believe the moment you tell someone, we are trying to migrate into AI, the first thing which comes to their mind is, automation is equal to job loss, right? So that's the cultural problem which we as a leaders face when we try to migrate or transform the organization to an AI based organization, because those are behavioral changes. These, and they are very difficult to change, because change management itself becomes a big pain area. And you know,
Yeah.
as I said, at the end of the day, the tools have still to be executed by human brain, right? Human mind. Still, you need people to execute those tools. And if people think that when we adopt to those tools, their job would be at stake, then you can't move forward. So these are some of the common challenges which we as finance leaders face when we try to integrate AI into the financial systems, right? Coming to the second part of the question, Mang, in terms of how can CFOs overcome resistance to adoption, right? To me, the first and foremost comes is that you have to showcase the world what you want to do, and the best way to do is do a small pilot which is successful. And the moment you do a small pilot, you show the results to the organization, to the larger organization probably, and then say that what, this is where a small thing has transformed into a probably a much more value added thing, because now we are getting much more insights on the same set of data, no matter how much small the process is or how much small the information is. So I think in my view, if we have to overcome these kind of resistance, the first thing which we should do is start with a high impact, low volume or a low risk pilot, and showcase the organization that there are benefits which we can derive from the AI systems. The second thing, which again is very important, especially in an organization, is the cross-functional collaboration, right? We as finance persons cannot work in silos. Whatever we do has an impact on the organization, right? Be it revenue, be it cost. Tomorrow, if I want to curtail down on cost, it would impact the larger organization. So if tomorrow, if I want to say that, I want to move away from a static budgeting to a rolling forecast, wherein I will monitor your cost basis your, let's say, the last 3 months or the last quarter, then it would impact sales organization, it would impact HR organization, it would impact probably operations and so on and so forth. So I think the best way to overcome this is to have a cross-functional collaboration, because it's not just about finance. And I want to put it very clear that the common myth which I see in multiple organizations is that probably because it's still into a growing stage, wherein probably organizations think that AI is largely to do with finance automations, largely to do with AP automations. No, it's not. It's more and beyond that, which means that there would be a larger organization which would get impacted. So if we have this cross-functional collaboration, which clarifies the ownership of the models, the data, the quality of the data and the control, I think then the adoption becomes much more easier and you overcome those challenges. Last but not the least, as I spoke in the challenges part, so you have to upskill and reassure the finance team that AI is your helping hand. It's not going to replace, as Meenakshi also spoke, Amit also spoke, Ankit also spoke, that AI is not going to replace human beings. It's probably help us to take a much more matured and much more insightful decisions rather than instinctive decisions which we as a finance professionals grew up when we learn the art of accounting and finance, right? So these are some of the things which I think CFOs should do to overcome the resistance to adoption. If we use that, then again, as I said, we become a business partner rather than a compliance related organization.
Thanks, Naveen, for so beautifully covering the entire thing. And I would just add one thing, because see, one thing is obviously we have to all we us and not just we our finance teams have to upskill. But one thing which I feel is critical is we have to unlearn also. Because what
Yes.
happens, we remain stick to the what we have learned 10 years, 20, 25 years back. So we have to unlearn a lot of things and then keep learning new things, which
Yes,
can be
absolutely.
very helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Ankit, I'll now come to you. What frameworks or best practices can we as CFOs adopt to ensure that AI-driven insights align with long-term business strategy of any organization?
So, two things. I think Amit and Naveen both covered. Human side is not negotiable. It is just not negotiable. So, I would start from there. But while I was listening to Naveen, I think he has already covered most of the points which are relevant from the strategy perspective, which includes collaboration, which includes uh, the pilot which we should do. More importantly, I think one of the things which comes to my mind is forecasted ROI. We should also see what is the ROI which we are seeing by doing this. Apart from that, there are many frameworks which have been given, and one is that when we are doing it, we should maintain the data integrity. So I'll give you an example. While Naveen has captured all the points, we are having SAP in our organization, which we did it in I think 2015, and we were using Zoho as one of the CRM. We decided to move to NetSuite because of multiple benefits which we realize, and now we have already moved to CRM tool as a NetSuite. But while doing that, we realized that both SAP and NetSuite are not integrated. So while our leads, our opportunities are being captured in NetSuite, it go up to the level where we are actually issuing the codes from the system. Then when we are making a sales order, that sales order doesn't talk to my system, SAP system for invoicing. So we are integrating both the things in such a way that the invoice should be made based on the sales order which has been made through other system. So that is what we are doing. And then once the invoicing is done, we have a support system in place where in case you have, once your licenses are activated, we have a system where in case you are facing any challenge in the product, you can raise the complaint, you can submit the log, and we can identify the root cause of the problem. So all those things being integrated is an important aspect, and which we believe that because of this AI, it is all possible. And it gives the superior quality at the minimum cost. The intent is not to remove the manpower, but we want to use our time to the best place. This actually AI has freed up our time where we can focus more on business strategy. I was giving you an earlier example where we are helping our sales and marketing team to develop a system where we can work hand in hand with them, contribute to the business revenue, growth, etc.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ankit. Now I'll move to Meenakshi. Meenakshi, how can CFOs strike a balance between AI automation and the human judgment? Because we, as like all of us were discussing, it's very important. So, which and that remains vital in financial decision making. So, how to strike the right balance between both?
Sure. Thanks, Mayank, for the question. And again, I think let me give my perspective. It's not, AI is not replacing the human judgment. I think, and how as a finance we make AI as our friend to use this in the most optimal financial decision making. I think that's completely on us. And maybe I can talk pro and cons both, that there are areas wherein we will have to use AI. And I think some of my colleagues have spoken about that, that why it is needed. And then which are the places wherein the cutoff will come, that now as a CFO or as a finance professional, you have to step in and you have to take the lead from there on. To give an example of our own context in Lenovo, our business has grown. I think if I were to see over the last 4 to 5 years, at least 2.5 to 3x in different LOBs and different verticals, right? And I think as a finance, we are the last one to give approvals for the headcount, but the same applies a lot on us. You have to walk the talk so much within the industry and within the company, right? So we did have a business control functions wherein I think 5 years back when I took the CFO role, there were just one or two people. And today when I see, it's still one or two people. But then your business has grown multifold, right? Which means your complexities are increasing in the business, and then your route to market are turning more and more complex. The business is a lot more online. Your access to information by your competition, by your stakeholders, and many others, I think, is a lot more visible. So we had a challenge that, how do you eventually have the right controls in the place from all the way from order to cash cycle. And this is a work which cannot be done by one or two people. So obviously we had to use AI. We had to use not very advanced AI at this stage, but a lot of machine learning for us to really create this entire order to cash tracking from a controls and regulatory requirement point of view. And team did a good job coming up with a lot of analytics and, with the uses of machine learning, a lot of insights. We did have red alerts and red flags and, wherever the transactions needed an intervention, example, there are excessive returns or there are, price mismatch kind of returns, those are happening. So this tool will give us those red alerts. All right, but the job of the tool stops there, right? Then after that, what kind of actions you take, what kind of regulatory implications or your policy imposition comes into picture. That's where the human intervention will come into play. This is just one example because that's the time when human intuition and human action is extremely important. That what will you decide? Similar to that, pricing intelligence. I think almost everybody in finance do touch upon pricing function, and we are approver of pricing for our services, for our products. And I think there is so much intelligence which exists now in the industry in terms of the pricing tools, in terms of the pricing insights, etc. Right? And you use these tools. We are trying to use those. In some parts, we have used it. And with the help of AI solution, the solution will tell you that, let's say my X1 carbon, I need to sell. This is the market intelligence at X price. And if my product at that price is a loss-making product, then there is no AI tool which will tell me what do I need to do after that, right? That's where then the again human judgment will come into play, that what is the next step? Do I need to stop this product because my pricing is not competitive? Is there something more I can do on the cost optimization? And of course, you can further build on the solution. I'm talking what exists today and where I see that where the human intervention, become almost unavoidable despite having a lot of AI insights and AI data analytics. That time, I think your ethical reasoning and your contextual awareness about that, what you need to do as a next step, I think it becomes very, very important. And to my earlier point, which I said, and I think one of my industry colleagues also repeated, that finally to the shareholder, finally to the internal team, you are accountable. It will be you as a CFO, you as a finance professional who will have to use that data, explain to the stakeholders, and take the next steps. Right? That I have enough insights, but what do I need to do? Right? So yeah, I think AI will be unavoidable in the task where our life was difficult. If you have a lot of reconciliation issues, you have a lot of data wherein you have to put in a lot of manual effort, so you don't have the manpower, wherein you need to use the AI, please use that. I think start with those low hanging fruits. But after that, I think still there's a lot of human intervention which will be needed for us to eventually have the reliable financial ecosystem on which your stakeholders will trust, and your decision will not go wrong in terms of using human intelligence and human awareness along with the AI outcome. So yeah, that's my
Thanks, Meenakshi. Very, very well said. And you're right. It's so true that AI is not going to take away our human judgment, and we basically, I think, need to repurpose our efforts, right? Instead of from taking out those save the efforts or time we are spending in the manual activities, and apply it more towards the things where we need to apply our mind to have judgment and more analytic and qualitative work, I would say, right? Instead of more of quantitative, qualitative work where we can do. Okay, so Amit, I'll come to you now. What are the key skills required for a CFO and even the not just CFO, the finance teams in today's era of AI?
So, as we all talked about, the role of CFO shifting from scorekeeper to strategic navigator, numbers are no longer enough. Insights, agility, judgments matter even more. So, while I talked about biases being a staunch supporter of human intervention, I myself led AI implementation in a very critical reconciliation at Aon. That was also the first in the industry. So the only issue that I always talk about is a lot of us don't know real use cases, but will buy something that has AI in it. Even my name has AI in it, so I only talk about responsible adoption of AI. So you just remove M and T. Yeah. So again, I would try to put it in few bullet points, as we seem to be on the common ground and aligned on the core aspects. So the first is critical thinking, data literacy with judgment. I think Meenakshi said decision support system. And as I said, we don't need to be a coder, but we need to know how to challenge the model. I talked about Zillow's or Amazon's example as well. So it looked brilliant until it turned out to be biased. Uh, and that was not a tech failure. It was a governance failure. It was a oversight failure. So a CFO's job, just a minute. A CFO's job is to ask what biases live inside this data. Second is context, storytelling with insight. Like someone said, CFO should explain the output and own the output. Microsoft CFO, also, I have read somewhere that he said that forecasts only work if leaders can trust them. So AI can throw numbers at us in seconds, but it takes a CFO to turn that into a story that the board and the stakeholders and the markets would believe in. Third is communication and cross-functional collaboration. Naveen talked about that, and without talking too much more, we are no more supporters, we are the drivers, and that is why we should know what to communicate and how to align all the stakeholders. Fourth is control, so risks and ethics. We talked about again how do we control that. Another is capability to adopt our agility. So look at um, Unilever during COVID. They leaned on AI for demand forecast, but still ran old-fashioned scenario drills. So what if supply chain freezes? What if oil doubles? How we can, if if the volumes increase, how do we build onto that capacity? So I think that agility should be there. Finally, the curiosity I talked about, the CFOs who ask why more often than what will lead in the AI era. So the key skills, I call them 5 Cs: critical thinking through data judgment, context with storytelling, communication with clarity, controls with risks, and capability with agility, and curiosity with keenness to learn. Thank you.
And thanks, Amit, for so nicely covering. I think we all agree there is an impact of AI on CFO's role, uh, and with in terms of automation of routine tasks, enhanced risk management, data-driven insights, which nobody can deny. And but along with this benefits like improved efficiency or enhanced decision making, increasing productivity, better risk management, and all those things. It comes with its own challenges and concerns, right? And which we need to understand and take care, because if left to, I would say, work on its own without any control, then it can be disastrous or give you us results which are not intended. So we have to keep a control on it, to have a check on it, and apply our judgment ultimately. Because if like there somebody said, if garbage goes inside the AI, we'll get garbage. We'll not get a better. And because but we can't rule it out, we can't completely keep it out that we'll not go for AI. This is something which we all have to embrace and adapt. We can't avoid it in today's scenario. And I think when we talk of skills or key skills for not just, I would say, CFOs, but even the finance teams at large, there are certain skills which we need to learn if we don't have, and probably unlearn, as I earlier said, something like data literacy or strategic thinking, tech savviness, even emotional intelligence or storytelling and communication. AI will give us the numbers or the prepare the data, but then we have to apply our judgment and create a story and narrative around it. And above all, I think for our teams, we have to identify the gaps wherever talent gaps exist within the finance teams, and to train them, to bring them up to the scale, because obviously we all have teams which are at different levels of I would say IT readiness or IT uh, savvy, and we have to upskill them, find repurpose their roles, instead of so that nobody needs to worry about their role as such. AI is not going to remove the complete human chain. It's probably only the repurposing of roles will happen. The roles will become more better qualitative. We can more better, instead of doing the repeat transactional kind of activities. That's what I feel. I think we are almost on top of our. We have about 10 minutes left, so probably we can open for questions from audience, and maybe Neha, you can read out
Yes.
from chat if we have any questions. Yeah.
Absolutely, Mark. Thank you, everybody, for your valuable insights. We'll just do a quick Q&A now. So I'll read out a question, and it is open to all the panelists, whoever wants to pick it up. So the first question is from Vanshita. It says, how should CFOs respond when AI outputs contradict human intuition or experience? Anybody from the panel?
Okay, maybe I can take that. So it's very common that there would be times when the AI output would contradict the human intuition. Now, we as finance professionals are tuned to work in a fashion wherein we work with a lot of data. Of course, our job demands that the decision or the information which we are seeking has to be data backed, has to be data driven, and hence we seek AI's output. But then there also comes the intuition, and that would happen, and that's where I think earlier in the discussion, all of us have agreed that AI is not going to replace human beings. Human beings would still be required, right? So and I think Minakshi was telling, or somebody was telling that, when you present in the board a deck prepared by AI, you just can't say, sorry, the machine told me this, because you need to have that human. So that intuition would still be required. That human intuition would still be required. This would come when you speak to people, when you speak to your stakeholders, when you speak to your board, when you speak to your, employees in the organization, and you will realize that there are these on top of the data backed analysis, you still need to have an intuition. Take an example. Let's say you're doing your annual forecasting for your organization for the coming year, and the tool would give you the forecast basis the historical performance, but it would not factor in, let's say, what is the feeling in terms of how the market would grow, right? What's the intuition that the 25 years data might say that Indian market is bound to grow by 7%, but then you hear from all your surroundings, all your networks, that probably the market is going to go blast because there are certain elementary things which are changing in the environment. So you have to have those intuitions. It's a tricky situation. Just to answer again, it's a tricky situation. So you cannot eliminate either of the one. You cannot eliminate the data backed analysis. At the same time, you also cannot eliminate the human intuition, and it has to be a balance of both of them. And it is purely on the judgment of the person who is using that data to provide the insights. So that's what I think CFOs can do.
Maybe
I want to
Mia,
add
if I
here.
can, yeah.
Thanks, Naveen ji has covered everything, but just in two lines. When human intuition says trust your gut and AI says trust the algorithm, the CFO job is to trust the process. Test
Yes,
both, reconcile them, and then decide.
perfect.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Beautifully put, Naveen and Amit. Thank you so much for addressing that. Our next question is, what's an easy first step CFOs can take to start using AI without big changes to their system?
Maybe
Naveen
I'll take
had
that.
covered this, but let me take up this one.
Okay.
So, one, I was telling that we should start with small pilots. It is always easy when we do a pilot. It has to be always data driven. It has to come from data driven culture. We have to maintain the data integrity. We have to use cross collaboration because it cannot be done in silos unless we do a collaboration with our colleagues. It will not give the desired result. And of course, we have to keep ROI in our mind that otherwise it will not work. There has to be a proper return on investment and we should clearly define the KPIs. So these are the basic steps which one must take. A quick start, and these are not big changes. It's the start of the journey.
Sure. So thank you, Amit, for addressing that, Ankit. The third question we have is, what new capabilities and mindsets will finance professionals need to thrive in an AI-driven future?
Yeah, okay. I think Neha, I covered it. Maybe I'll repeat it. So, see, data literacy, technical skills, strategic thinking, business acumen. I mean, some of these are already required even in our other ways in our roles, right? Right. And AI cannot stand alone do anything. You have to have business acumen. AI will require that, right? And that can't have it. So we have to apply our business. And then collaboration and communication with cross-functional teams will be very critical because standalone, it's not that somebody can, one person doing sitting on his table and give a command and AI will do everything. And then it has to be like we are Ankit said, it has to be continuous learning and continuous adaptability, which it's you have to start taking small steps and then develop on it because there is no, in my view, there is no single solution or single size which will fit everyone because all organizations are at different levels of maturity in terms of adoption of IT or tech tools, right? Even if say 10 organizations are using SAP, there could be 10 different ways in how they are using SAP or how they are uh, around the SAP, how the environment in those organizations, how automated they are, or is it just a standalone SAP you have, but maybe you are not taking full use of SAP. So similarly, you based on your organization's business model, based on the maturity of the organization in terms of tech adoption, we have to decide and then take small steps. I mean, it can't be looking at like things like सारे घर के बदल डालूंगा एक दिन में. So that's if we take that kind of approach, then it may fail and may be faced with a lot of resistance from people. So you have to take everyone along and collaboratively we have to work, because initially when we are going to take anything, there will be a lot of resistance from people, not just the finance team, even from other departments.
I think maybe
Sure.
just
Can
to
I-
add, Neha, there, something which we are doing at Lenovo, right? Because obviously we are a tech company and we have a lot of responsibility towards our customer, not just the internal employees. I think make a start example at Lenovo, we have come up with a lot of, I think thanks to our L&D team, a lot of modules which are teaching and educating and providing the training to our employees in terms of the AI and the machine learning. Complex areas to simple areas, including functions like HR, finance, marketing, sales, where all we can adopt the AI. I think to be fair, especially to the finance organization, all of us have grown learning finance. We have not grown learning tech, right? And we are responsible for the transformation and the learning of our talent. So I think for all the organization and especially leaders like us, now it becomes responsibility on us as well to start that education and transformation for our team. Change is never easy, right? But to bring their mindset towards that, make that start within your organization, and then see to what extent you can, influence your own internal stakeholders, your own team, to really go in that direction. But I think right now it's a big responsibility on all the functional heads to really have your team guide in that direction.
Sure. Thank you
Maybe
so much.
can I just add to what both Meenakshi and Mayank has spoken about? I think I just use an analogy. I keep using this many times in my teams that if you have to climb a mountain, what's the most important thing which you need to have? And somebody would say, you know what, I need to have gears. Somebody would say, you know what, I need to have medicine. Somebody would say, I need to have an oxygen cylinder. But people often forget that if you need to climb a mountain, the most important thing is to have the mountain itself, right? And that's what I would try to correlate, that if you have to, have that, AI driven future, then the most important thing in my view is to have that mindset, right? That is important. If you don't have that mindset, then no matter how much training you do, no matter how much you are able to convince that your job is not at loss, still the adoption would be very slow. So to me, mindset comes right at the top. If at all we have to, drive the AI-driven future.
Sure. Thank you so much,
And
Naveen,
I
Meenakshi.
think just I just want to add one sentence. So people have a fear that they will lose their job. That's a human tendency, right? But believe me, I have seen these things have done for the betterment. So human touch cannot be ignored, be it AI or be it erstwhile automation and ML. So we are non-negotiable, and that's where I would end.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ankit, and everybody for addressing that. So we'll just take one last question we have in the chat box. It goes, how can CFOs ensure AI-driven insights align with long-term business strategy, not just short-term gains?
So maybe I'll cover quickly. So see, this is we have to define clear business objectives, right? And have if we are going for AI adoption, have a strategic roadmap, and then it has to be aligned and collaboratively, agreed with all the functions, so that they know what is being done, how it's being done. Because many times people have the fear of unknown. You actually don't even know what's going to happen or what change it's going to bring, but we just imagine our minds and end up opposing whatever you are doing. And then it has to be done in a consistent way, in a sustainable way, not like overnight change. And followed by probably monitoring and evaluating the performance also, because this is something which I feel when we continuously have to evaluate and monitor and keep on changing, because AI or any these kind of tools are not one size fits all. So it will, based on the experience, it will keep on evolving and improving for that function. And then another, I think, key aspect is probably to look at the right tool. Because today, if you look at, in the market, there is a oversupply of tool in my view. I mean, everybody, you go to any conference, any seminar, any forum, you have so many people selling their tools. You maybe even on LinkedIn. But now, what is the right tool for you? Because everybody thinks they have the right tool. So based on your business requirement, based on your structure, based on your organization model, you have to undertake, evaluate what is the best tool and then go for it slowly. Hope that
Sure.
understands. I think, Neha, we are at 4, already past 4. So thank you,
Sure.
everyone, all the panelists for uh, being on the discussion and answering the questions. And thanks, HRAI Neha, for inviting me to host this session and moderate the session. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank you so
listening.
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mayank.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.